Welcome to season 11 of the Social Work Rants podcast, providing an inside look of the social work and mental health profession, continuing to discuss social work entrepreneurship, social work being political, and the day to day aspects of the social work profession. Hope you enjoy. Hello, social workers, mental health professionals, and change agents. Welcome to another episode of the Social Work Rants podcast. I'm your host, Bash Moreno. Saludos a todos. Greetings, everybody. Thank you for tuning in, tapping in wherever you are watching or listening to the podcast. I appreciate all the love and support. Gracias a todos por su apoyo. I've been meaning to do this episode for quite a while, but I wanted to get the facts in order and how to really address it. This episode is dedicated to the Secretary of Education, Miss Linda McMahon, former C was it COO, whatever she was for WWE, now the Secretary of Education. She was previously running the Small Business Administration and during Trump's first term. So I'm going back in my 2020 bag because I called out Skip Bayless back in 2020 where he was talking about Dak Prescott, the Dallas Cowboy quarterback, and his mental health. So this episode is dedicated to Secretary of Education Linda McMahon, and I'm going to do this in a way that Secretary McMahon can appreciate, and is a wrestling promo. Those who know me know I'm a huge wrestling fan. Still watch wrestling to this day. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm gonna go back and forth wearing my glasses so that I could read some of these notes I wrote down, and it's gonna be a mix of The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin. Why those two? Because they made Linda McMahon and her, I think they still legally married, Vince, um, a whole lot of money. Um, so yeah, that's this week's episode. For those who don't know or been living under a rock or whatever, the Trump administration has deemed social work not professional. So we got a lot of us got MSW degrees and is not deemed a professional degree, along with several other degrees. And we're going to get right into it. Talking about the following degrees are no longer considered professional under the Trump administration. And we're going to get into a little bit as to why, according to the Trump administration. Nursing, physical therapists, audiologists, physical assistants, obviously social work, architects, accountants, public health workers, educators, speech language pathologists. So you already hit my pockets personally by social work and a speech language pathologist because my lovely wife, shout out to her, is a speech language pathologist. And they definitely need a lot of speech language pathologists, especially people of color. And especially recently, shout out to the Black SLP conference that took place in Washington, D.C. recently. And there's only 8% of Black SLPs in the country. So, and with due to medicine, uh, autism diagnoses are on the rise and has nothing to do with vaccines. So, there's going to be more and more in need of speech language pathologists. And what do all these professions have in common? Of course, mainly all women for the most part. and where many, if not many, of these professions are mandated reporters. So we're trying to go. This administration want to go take it back to 1930s, 40s, and 50s into the 60s, where women stay home and bear kids and take care of the kids, while rich, mediocre white men work. So this administration wants to go back to that. So um, it's just a lot happening, folks. It really is. It just doesn't make any sense. We have a, a teacher shortage. We got people are living longer, so there's more PT involved. Shoot, I was going PT for a while. Um, as people age, we need nurses. We need no physical, no people like nurses, the PSRs. We got accountants. Now, how definitely need accountants. Tax season is right around the corner. I know in Christmas season, but as soon as Christmas season is over, I'm thinking about when I'm getting my W-2s. Public health workers, we still, Florida, just the state of Florida is, this Surgeon General in Florida is getting rid of these vaccine mandates, and now we got measles outbreaks in these states that, Texas, South Carolina, and Florida's got stuff going on or had stuff going on, and of course, teachers, we were all thank you, teachers, clapping for the teachers during 2020. Um, and parents realize how hard teachers jobs are, when we parents had to like be teacher and parent for these kids when they were on Zoom with these Zoom calls. So now they're not deemed professional. Lovely. So part of the reason for this professional to non-professional is due to federal lending rules, allegedly, for the amount of money people could take out for loans for these degrees, or these loan caps are changing. So you can look that up in the Department of Education. I'm not really going to go into as much details or the amounts that are going to be changed. So basically, you want to get into these fields, the amount of money that you can take out for loans are going to be reduced. So if you're already in a master's program, start looking at scholarships, start looking at, other ways to try to get the money to pay for school. It really is a lot. Uh, access to education, lowering these loan caps is really going to affect a lot of folks. And of course, not only women, but people of color, like I'm talking about regarding speech science pathologists, social workers. We definitely need people of color in the field. There's a lot of we have a mental health crisis. We still got a fentanyl issue happening, so we need the public health workers. You know, you know, HIV is still going on. Like I said, measles are happening. People are not, getting their parents not getting their kids vaccinated. Surgeon generals are removing, requirements for vaccines. So it's a lot, and it doesn't make any sense for all of this. So, dear Secretary McMahon, Linda, listen, Linda, listen. Several weeks ago, you want to sit up in the White House, running your mouth with your 10 pounds of makeup on your face, botched Botox or whatever you got going on in your face, talking a whole lot of nonsense, talking about ending micromanagement and letting the states deal with deal with their own education. I can tell you right now, in the state of Delaware, I don't think so. With dealing with education, it's a shit show so far here in Delaware. You want to transfer anything related to this educational needs to the Department of Labor, but you want to keep Title One funds and you want to keep IDEA funds. That, that's an actual good thing. But let's see how if you actually follow through on that. And you're talking about education is in a state of national emergency. In these 10, 11 months, almost a full year in office, you actually became probably one of the worst educational secretaries of education in the history of this country. In less than a year, you did that. You somehow end up being worse than Betsy DuBose, who was the previous Secretary of Education under the Trump's first term. And she ain't do a damn thing in her 4 years. But she stayed all 4 years, unlike you, Linda McMahon, that you actually resigned from your position at, as a small business administrator. You didn't even stay all 4 years. But then you want to come out here with no educational background, talking about running education and giving states the power on making their own decisions. I don't think so. Recently, I saw a podcast you were on recently. Surprised you even know what a podcast is, considering that not that long ago you confused AI with A1 steak sauce and saying A1 when you really meant AI. But I digress. You know, the Department of Education was established in 1980. I was 1 year old, and Ronald Reagan was president. So most of my time, other than the 8 years of Clinton and the 8 years of Obama and the 4 years of Biden, has been in Republican control. And like many things, Republicans want to complain and not do anything to fix it, hence Obamacare. And president still doesn't have a plan to fix healthcare. Does he still have concepts of a plan though? Let me know. We want to know. The American people want to know. You brought up in the podcast interview, which I found fascinating, talking about Republicans in office that didn't do anything in terms of education or tried to, but it failed miserably. No Child Left Behind. I remember when that first came out. I literally just started my social work career working in foster care. No Child Left Behind. You know, it was the president who came up with No Child Left Behind? George W. Bush. He was the worst president in my lifetime until Agent Orange, your boss, took over. That's like who I like to call. I like to call him Agent Orange or the killer in chief because, he did kill 1 million people due to his terrible COVID policy during 2020. But that's, people tend to forget. And, back in 2018, when Trump cut food stamps and now Republicans did the government shutdown, but y'all want to blame the Democrats for, and people went without food stamps for like 3 or 4 weeks. And then the president wanted to distract that somehow in 2 or 3 weeks, People stop talking about food stamps. So that's what y'all do: distract, causing more harm to folks like people of color like me, people of color who listen to the podcast, the 75, 77% of women who listen to the podcast, yeah, causing harm on them. The list I just went on earlier: nurses, physician assistants, physical therapists, audiologists, social workers, architects, accountants, public health workers, educators, speech language pathologists. Most of them are women. But yeah, like causing harm to women. Go figure. So I won't mention the name of the podcast. That's not besides the point. Then you also mentioned on the podcast that student loans don't even belong in education. It's part of the educational Department of Education. Yeah, the ones who give the contracts to for us to borrow the money. What do you mean it doesn't belong in education? We get students loan education. To me, it just makes logical sense. So you want to give privatize the loans to make it harder for people to get their loans forgiven. You want to give it to the Department of Treasury. You still don't even know what you want to do with the student loans, allegedly. But it's all Project 2025 that you keep. The whole administration, denies that's in existence. There's actually, at least according to threads from what I've seen, the Heritage Foundation's already got Project 2026 on in Pablo. I haven't mentioned anything about that though. Why would you? You're just trying to play the American people. So you sit up there in the White House, you running your mouth, no, talking a whole lot of nonsense. And didn't you by any chance spend like over $30 million of your own money running for Senate and you lost not once, but twice, back to back elections? Like Drake said, back to back. You lost back to back. So stop with your nonsense. You're already one of the worst secretaries of education in the history of the country. Made Betsy DeBose. And I give you some credit, yeah, like because the Biden administration, in terms of education, there's a lot he didn't do that he could have done. Did things ass backwards in terms of student loans, which I brought up on the podcast. Yeah, I had two different uh, experts who know about student loans that always talk about student loans. I could go back and listen or watch those episodes because I've been educated my fellow social workers and mental health professionals about what's been happening with the student loans or what they should be doing, what can they do to go back and listen. I'm sure a lot has definitely changed because the administration every day is something new with them. So, but y'all could go back. So, Secretary McMahon, let me tell you something. All of these professions are professional. Social workers, day in, day out, we bust our ass to take care of our clients that we serve. Many of us are in the front lines. We're the first, we usually are the first phone calls that people call us seeking help. We're there many times before police are. We try to intervene best we can. If it wasn't for us, this country would be even more of a shit show than it already is. So we do our thing. Many of us risked our lives during the pandemic to help our clients out. So we deserve our respect. Social work is professional. And that's the bottom line because this professional social worker said so. Jabroni. Now I got that off my chest. So definitely, my folks, read the One Big Ugly Bill, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. Read it. Read it in its entirety because literally they breaking down everything that they trying to do in the bill. Go back and read Project 2025. I did a whole episode of some of the things that will affect social work. They're already halfway through that. 900 pages. They're already halfway through, or maybe a little bit more, depending who you ask, or depending who you watch in terms of the news. They doing it. They trying to get to all 900 pages. They already did halfway in, and they're not even a full year in office. Keep yourself informed. Do what you need to do, whatever that looks like for you. I know it's the holidays, and we got seasonal affective disorder happening. People, no, people have lost loved ones. You know, this Trump doing everything that he's doing, it's a lot. Definitely seek your peace, however you do it. But one way to ease some of their anxieties to stay informed, just Google Project 2025 and read it. There's a whole PDF. You can download it and you can read it and digest it. They are doing all of it or trying to. And who knows with midterm elections how that's going to look. So, we still got almost a whole year before midterm elections. Definitely stay informed. Read the big beautiful bill. Things are only going to get worse before they get better. We got the big beautiful bills. Got Medicaid cuts happening. The Medicaid cuts are not going to really take effect for the most part until this time next year. So we're looking at another late fall, winter of people stressing out because their Medicaid got cut off. Who knows what's going to happen with Medicare? They trying to dismantle all these safety nets that we've had in place since forever, since like the 40s, the 1940s. And Trump is coming in and trying to get rid of all that. So stay informed. That's the best way I could tell you. For if you're in school, definitely, there's scholarships out there to be won. You just gonna have to apply, or get a job. There's you gotta. Everybody's situation is different. Um, definitely, seek out support. Definitely in the comments, reach out for support. You can follow the podcast on Instagram, the Social Work Rants Podcast. Definitely DM me. Is there any way I could do to try to help out you out in any way in terms of support? You just want to vent? Uh, we're here. So on that note, I finally got this out of my system. I've been wanting to do this podcast episode for for a while. I made the time for it. Secretary McMahon, I hope you appreciated my bootleg wrestling promo, and it kind of went a little left. But the point is, oh, I didn't even tell you. Last thing, you was in my city, gaslighting kids in in a school in my town, gaslighting the administration, doing a visit at a school near my house, a high school near my house, gaslighting kids. So talking about they the future and all this stuff, and you acting like you were into what the kids were doing at vocational high school. Don't be gaslighting these kids. Don't be gaslighting the administration at the school like you care. You don't care. You're talking about talked on the podcast recently the importance of vocational trades, and yeah, that's important. But then again, architects are not even considered professional according to your administration, and we're in a housing crisis. Makes sense to that. Audiologists, physical therapists, they people get certificates and stuff like that, but you don't deem that professional. Make it make sense. Don't gaslight these kids. If you're gonna do school visits and stuff like that, be be genuine. Like, but that's hard to do in the administration that you work for. There's nobody genuine. They just full of crap. So on that note, peace, y'all.